Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds.
Hi, I'm Dr. Roselle, the Chief Operating Officer for Urban Farming Education. I'm sitting in for Mike McMahon, who is in Malawi and Zimbabwe, checking on our projects there. Super excited about our upcoming guest. We have a lot to talk about today. We have a lot of projects, but before we begin, I have a couple shout outs and a couple reminders. First and foremost, don't forget to like and subscribe to Harvesting Wisdom. I also want to thank everybody. We're getting ready to cross our 100,000 view mark. I'm really excited about that. And to our friends south of the border, bienvenidos. I really appreciate everybody listening to us. And make sure to look for our Harvesting Wisdom podcast translated into Spanish. Okay, so now let's dive in. Okay, when it comes to urban farming education, we're always looking for partners that have aligned core values as us. And for us, one of the big things that we look for is closing the gap between information and action. We're always frustrated when we go to events or we hear about things where their sole purpose is just to raise awareness. For us, we really want to see people dive in with both feet, but we realize as an organization, we have to provide the structure to do that. So I'm here with Ashley Weisman from Greenlight Solutions, and we're going to answer a very important question. What if we empowered students to lead this charge with sustainability? So right now, I'd like to introduce our guest, Ashley Weisman. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Greenlight Solutions? I know you have a very specific history, but tell us the history of the organization and how you got involved with it.
Yeah, so Greenlight Solutions is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're about 12 years old, and our mission it's to advance green careers and green business. And really, what that means is we help students launch sustainability careers, and we help businesses go green. So that's a little bit about our mission. And really, we got started when a couple of undergraduate students got together and they said, "Hey, we're about to get these degrees in sustainability. We graduate next month, but we've never actually done sustainability besides in the classroom." So those couple of students got together and they did a project with the WWF. And they found this experience to be so empowering and so valuable that they wanted to share it with other students. So they created a student organization. Fast forward a couple of academic semesters later, a few projects, a dozen students later, and they realized, hey, when we graduate, what's going to happen to this really awesome thing that we created? So they developed the nonprofit. And 12 years later, our nonprofit has implemented 96 youth sustainability projects. And we're just getting started.
Yeah, I sat through your seminar and I was really excited to hear about your core values. But one of the questions that popped into my mind was, you went through the College of Sustainability, you went through the program. What compelled you to stay? Why did you stay? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure you had other opportunities, but what got you to stay and kind of take up the charge that people that gave you your opportunity?
So, yeah, I was a student in the program. As a sophomore student, I was excited to make an impact in sustainability. This was back in 2016. And I did the student program. And I was so empowered by what it did in me. It really changed my life in so many ways, personally and professionally. So, I interned for the board of directors. Then I was the first paid staff member,
Mm.
actually. First 6 years of our organization was 100% volunteer led. So I was the first paid staff member, then moved to CEO in 2020. So, why did I stay? Because what we can do with this organization and with these partnerships, it's really unmatched. I don't see my future at any other organization.
Yeah, I think that urban farming education has a similar mission. We look at probably one of the best things we can do for our communities when it comes to farming or gardening is to build capacity. And I think that's what gets people nervous about engaging in these projects. I had the great opportunity of partnering with Greenlight Solutions, and I met the students from University of Naznan, and you could tell they were a little nervous, but as the presentation went on, you could see the confidence building. So what role do you think that these boot camps play on the kids of giving them the inspiration to say, you know what, I solved a problem, or I was involved in a project, and then when I go home, whether it's Phoenix or Tokyo, I feel like I can do that in my own community. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so that's one of the pillars of Greenlight Solutions, and one of the really outcomes of the student projects is the confidence that they gain, the confidence in themselves, in their skills, and their ability to network and solve problems and do a great job. I think when they enter the workforce, they won't have as much of wiggle room or a space to experiment. But really, we like to give this space to the students for it to be a playground, for them to try new things, for them to fail a little bit. Um, and it really gives them that confidence and to know that they can do this. They can do this in their careers.
Yeah, and honestly, when I think of Greenlight Solutions, I was talking to a colleague, and this colleague brought up a great question. They said, "Okay, besides this club, and if you're not in the major, where else do you learn about sustainable solutions?" I have 4 college degrees, and I never once took a class or even had a conversation during a class. So, talk to me about. Are there any hopes of getting it to go downwards in high schools and elementary schools? Do you work with them? What does that part of Greenlight Solutions look like?
So I definitely see a future where Greenlight Solutions works with high schools and potentially other ages. Um, I will say too that sustainability is for everyone,
Mhm.
which means that Greenlight Solutions student programs is for everyone. It is not just for the environmental students or the sustainability students. A lot of our students, and mind you, we've trained over 400 students um, in sustainability project management. And those students have been business majors, marketing majors, healthcare majors, right? Because these skills, a sustainability skill set, is transferable. These skills can be applied to no matter what career you go into.
You just brought up a great point. When I first started urban farming education, and I tell people about sustainability and about farming, and I ask them to get involved, they always say, "Well, I'm not a farmer. That's your responsibility." So, what's been your approach to attract these other university programs into this? What do you say? What's your pitch?
Well, I will say that sustainability affects everyone. We're past the point of it's not in my backyard,
Mhm.
right? For example, in Arizona, the extreme heat. And I think it's becoming more and more apparent in the news, still not enough. But if you have not been personally affected, which everyone has, but let's say you have family or friends that have been affected across the US, across the world. So I think there's that. And also, when you have a sustainability skill set, you do your job better, no matter what sector or department or job function or role that you have in an organization, you will do your job better with the sustainability skill set and mindset.
Honestly, that's a great point. One of the things that I think about when I think about sustainability is that it doesn't impact everybody equally. So when we went to our farms in Africa, we heard a phrase: "If it doesn't rain, we don't eat." If it doesn't rain here in Phoenix, we just go to the grocery store. If the farmers don't have rain, they can use irrigation. So it's different for wherever you go. So um, having that saying of think global or locally, but think globally, act locally, I think is so important. When you look at your programming, that was something I was really impressed as well too. It's very organized. I'm sure it took a long time to develop. Talk to us about what a student would expect to do. And I was actually surprised at the length too. I thought, oh, they're going to be here for 3 or 4 days. What is the program like?
Yeah, so the Greenlight Bootcamp program is 10 workshops, and this is for the study abroad. So actually, students that live For example, in Arizona, locally, we do a longer program. But for our study abroad students, we have 10 workshops, and each of those workshops takes the students through every step of the project management curriculum. And that's sustainability project
Oh,
management.
wow.
So, how do you take a sustainability challenge that's so big, and how do you organize it into bite-sized chunks? How do you take it from ideation to implementation? So it's really taking that passion of students and helping them to know how to be able to solve these sustainability challenges in the most professional way possible. So we take them through 3 phases: project strategy, project implementation, and then sustainability storytelling. And that will be everything from how do you take the project and create a vision, mission, objectives, strategies, tactics, and tools? How do you measure progress? What are metrics? What are KPIs, those key performance indicators? These are all things that students are meant to know on day one of their careers, but it isn't so much being taught in school. So we really make sure that we can bridge that gap between education and the workforce and really give them those practical workforce skills.
It truly is application. The other thing I was really impressed with was, take urban farming education example. I was stood up in front of a group of girls from Japan. Obviously, there were things that were different. I think I was well coached. You tailor the programming. So, talk to me a little bit about how you're connecting different cultures, because I'm sure that's a challenge when you work with a company and you have somebody, kids coming from all over the world. How do you bridge the gap?
Yeah, so I think it's important that we work with the educators from that college. So we always have conversations about really just understanding the culture and making sure that we meet them from where they're at. They feel comfortable. For example, we'll start the workshop with the Japanese phrase just to
Oh,
help
yeah.
them to make them feel comfortable and to know that we're excited to have them.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, I definitely didn't feel like I was thrown at the wolves, which is great. And we're excited because we're gonna have the kids come out to our office on Friday, so they're gonna actually see our workspace. They're gonna have the opportunity to literally put their hands in the dirt. We had Red Velvet Bakery on, and I'm gonna keep it a surprise, but we have a surprise for the kids from the bakery as well too. Talk to us about some of your other programs, because you do more than the boot camps. What are some of the other projects programs that you do in the community?
Yeah, so our other main program is our green team, where we starve the landfill. So that means that we'll go to events of all sizes, whether it's 50 people, whether it's 50,000 people, and we help them to maximize waste diversion. So at, at a single event, that could be tons and tons going to the landfill. And imagine how many events are happening in Phoenix on a weekly basis. Just think of those numbers. So, I'll give an example. We were at an event just a couple weeks ago called the Pats Run, if you've heard of
Oh
it.
yeah, I've done the run. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. So that was our first partnership with Pats Run, and we diverted 13 tons from the landfill.
Well, how do you do that? When you say you divert it, do you take all the trash, or what goes into that?
A lot of hard work. So, while everyone is enjoying that event, we have a team of about 200 staff and volunteers going through every piece of trash that goes through that event. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
every single trash bin, making sure that every piece of recyclable gets recycled and every piece of compost gets composted. And we're also doing food rescue. So, making sure that all of the leftover food that is perfectly good gets donated to those in need.
Okay, now I know this is a challenge. We've actually had some comments on the podcast about the frustration of, oh, they put up all the bins and nobody has to use them. It's a waste of time. And my response was, no, that's not necessarily the case. More education. It's hard to change habits. And even at the U.S. Compost Conference Council, we noticed that the trash was being sorted incorrectly at a compost council of all things. You figured we would know how to sort our trash, but what are some of the solutions you have for that? Because I know it's hard. So how do you go about getting people to sort the trash? Because otherwise, it's very labor intensive and it's hard to do after the fact.
It's very labor intensive. We are there for hours upon hours after that event has ended. Um, so a main piece as to why all of our recyclables and compostables, we know for a fact 100% are being recycled and composted is through our partnerships. We have very, very strong partnerships with the cities, with the recycling companies, with the compost companies. They know that these dumpsters are green light approved. They are green light certified to be 100% contamination free. When they are very contaminated, there's a solid chance that that's not going to go to the recycling or compost facility, depending on the company. I'm not, that's not a general phase, right? Um, but when we know it's 100% contamination free, we know that it will be recycled and composted through our partnerships.
So talk about the waste stream. What happens to it? Because I don't think I've talked to somebody before, and they're like, where does it go? If it's compostable, does it just disappear into the air? I'm like, no, it doesn't do that. So talk to us about the waste stream. What happens to it? You put a lot of effort into it. Some of it still goes to the dump, but it's a much smaller amount. What happens?
Yeah, so we have the recyclables, we have the compostables. Our favorite compost partner is our city and mill, and um, recycling that will go to either City of Phoenix, City of Tempe, Waste Management. We have those partners. Um, it's something I always like to explain to people is, when you throw that piece of trash into the magical trash bin and you think
The
it's
black hole somewhere out there in the desert.
right, like you think it's going, out of sight, out of mind. But what you're doing is you're throwing something into the landfill where it's going to sit for hundreds, if not thousands of years, if it's landfilled, right? So something I always like to tell people is how important it is to know the difference between methane and carbon dioxide. So when for example, your food goes to the landfill, that creates methane. Methane is 20 times more threatening in terms of climate change than carbon dioxide. So throwing something in the trash is 20 times worse than, for example, driving your car.
Right.
So that's something I always like to tell people as well, just for a little bit of environmental education, if you will.
You kind of slid into a great segue for me. I'm the president of the Arizona Compost Council, and what we tell people is if you're throwing out food scraps and you're not processing your waste appropriately, you're actually throwing away a resource. We can
Yep.
we can process that, turn it into compost, and actually use it to help with water usage and soil health and everything else too. So it's not garbage. In some cases, it's a resource they're throwing away.
Yep.
I had a great conversation with another partner, and they said, the best advice I can give an organization is to actually think about your inputs. Think about the materials that you put in front of your customers. We took that advice. So if you come to a UFE event, we only use compostable plates, silverware, and cups. What advice would you give to somebody that puts on events as far as and I think you were the one that was talking about the schools, right? Was it you?
So we have potential partnerships.
Okay, so
in the
talk to me
works.
about the advice you'd give for inputs, whether it's a school or with somebody that puts on events, and how they should organize it to make sure that they make it easier to compost.
Yeah. So a part of our service is also looking at the sourcing. So we'll take an inventory of all of their inputs, whether that's dishware, whatever it may be, right? And we provide them a list of all of the different alternatives. So we love the compostables because, of course, that's a resource. And then we can compost that and create nutrient dense soil for local farmers, for example. So the sustainable sourcing and also raising the awareness. So that's actually something I haven't touched on is we have volunteers standing at all the bins.
Oh, okay.
And so
Ambassadors.
yes,
Oh,
our
that's very
green
cool.
team ambassadors. So they will stand at those bins and they'll tell people, hey, that's recyclable, that's compostable, and also do some sorting just in case someone gets it wrong, right? So that environmental education and that raising awareness is one of the main outputs of the green team at these events because all of those event attendees, and this could be events up to 30,000 people. they are greeted
Wow.
with this opportunity to learn something new, not only to make an impact at the event, but to bring that new habit home with them.
So if somebody's having an event, what types of groups do you work for? And I'm sure if you're like, well, I'm having a barbecue in the backyard, that's too small of a scale, but I'm sure you have information. So how do they contact you in order to get kind of an audit or a planning session with you in order to help with this planning?
Yeah, so you go to glsolutions.org. Solutions is plural. That's glsolutions.org. And that's where you can get the audit from our team. And then we can support your event. Like I said, we do corporate events, festivals. I was just approached for a wedding. So
Oh, that's great.
that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot of fun with that one. And, we've done conferences, you name it. So 50 people to 50,000 people, sign us
Wow.
up. We've even
Okay.
done a spring training.
Do you have any resources on your website where if I was going to have an event, but you were busy, that I could go and at least pull the fact sheets and
You know what? That is in the pipeline.
oh, very
I
cool.
can't wait to provide free resources to the
That's awesome.
community. But also, if people reach out, I am more than happy to support.
One of the things I wanted to dive into with you too is urban farming education. I'm sure the same way we've gotten to where we have because we have great partners. So we've worked with Grand Canyon University, and they've been great in hosting our conferences. What are some of the partners that you've worked to that have just stood out and really helped to advance what you're doing?
Yeah. So one partner that I really love to highlight is our partnership with Infosole. So Infosole is a business intelligence company. They do dashboards and business data and business intelligence. And they have had a long-term partnership with us where we've actually developed a dashboard together for sustainability business metrics.
Oh,
Yes, I'm really excited to launch this.
okay. So hold on. So is that for like nonprofits or businesses to actually use to track their progress?
Yes,
Oh,
it
wow. That's
is.
gonna be a game changer, right?
I cannot wait to release this.
Okay. Can you give us any information on it?
I can. So
Okay.
we actually have developed it for the past 2 years, and it tracks data in waste, water, energy, and social impact. And those are the first 4 pages. So as time goes on, we'll add more to the dashboard. But this is a way for businesses to not only track their progress, but also it spits out ways to tell your story about sustainability. So, for example. If you've saved so much number as 50 bathtubs or 500 hamburgers,
Oh, wow.
right? Like taking those sustainability metrics and making it into more relatable terminology.
Okay, so this has been another question I've been dying to ask because I'm the president of the South Mountain Living Chamber of Commerce, and what I've told them is that there are a lot of people out there that care that your business is green. And it's funny sometimes because some of the businesses we've partnered with, they have incredible sustainability programs, but they don't say anything about them. There's one of my favorite restaurants out there is Snooze. What percentage of Snooze waste do you think they recycle or they divert? What percentage? Of all the food and everything that's pushed through there, what percentage?
I'm not sure. That's a tough one.
90%.
Wow.
Snooze is doing great things, and yet you
Mm.
don't really hear about it. So, for me, what is your thought on businesses being more proactive about telling that story? Now they're going to have a dashboard and they could talk about how many hamburgers and bathtubs they save, but what would be your messaging or just some great strategies you've seen on pushing this message out?
Yeah, it's so important to tell your sustainability story because customers want to see this.
Oh, absolutely.
Now we see that 80% of consumers will choose the sustainable brand, and that's huge. So customers want it, but then also for other businesses, the more that you raise the bar and you talk about, hey, this is just the norm. We do business sustainably. Sustainable business is modern business. It's good business. So the more that more businesses go green, other businesses are going to have to follow suit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And for us, we've had conversations with that, and we've interviewed general contractors like Chase Building Team, and when I was a little nervous going in because I didn't know about their sustainability program, but they actually have a pretty robust sustainability program. And when they described it, they said, "Look, it's good business, like you said. It saves us money. It improves work conditions for our employees. So to use the newest equipment or materials that don't pollute, it's great for us."
Yep.
So it's something that I'm definitely hoping that we hear more of in the future. Do you have any supports for businesses that are looking to go through this process or have some kind of consultation beyond the dashboard?
We have the dashboard, which is not
It's not out yet.
launched. It's
Yes.
not out
Okay.
yet, but very excited for it to be. But also be a project partner with us. Go on to glsolutions.org and sign up for a student-led project. That's a
Okay.
great way to start your journey with a passionate, innovative team of students to support your goals. And then if you have events, sign up for a green team event, and we'd be happy to support.
So there is a way to do the messaging. One big way, I guess, that you said that I for whatever reason didn't see the connection is business is going to actually sign up to be a host to groups of students, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's fantastic. One of the last things I want to talk to you about is storytelling. I know that we're both nonprofits and we have to tell our story. What are some of the ways that you get the word out? You share your story, and then we'll talk about our upcoming project. We obviously use a podcast. We use social media, but what are some of your favorite ways to get the word out about what you're doing?
Yeah, so same as UFE, we have our socials, we have our Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the all of the different platforms. Our website, glsolutions.org. And also, you can find our live project portfolio on our website. So all 96 projects are um, uh, are live on that website. So
Oh
you can
wow,
see all of the students that participated, all the businesses that have participated, and each of them have a white paper. And at Greenlight, we call it a green paper.
I love it, love it.
So
That's incredible. So now let's dive into a little bit about the project we proposed. Now, if you're listening, this is brand new, but we have an essential question. And when we brought it up during our meeting, we both got really excited about it. And really, it goes to kind of the sometimes the resistance we get from people trying to dive into the sustainability. And the question is, why bother? So talk to me about what that question means to you and why you think it's such a good question to ask when you think about sustainability.
Well, so
Why bother?
why bother?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think it's responsibility. It's accountability for businesses. Um, that should really be the bottom line. It is being responsible and accountable to the community you're embedded in and our global community on your negative impacts, and also making sure you're not only decreasing your negative impact, but you're increasing your positive impact. Um, they say that compliance, the lowest level of ethics, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and honestly, you've said some keywords that really resonate with me. I before I came to urban farming education, I was an educator, and I've always been forward facing into the community, understanding that there's a relationship between everybody that's out there. That I don't have a magic bubble around myself, and that I can't do anything where my actions don't impact others. So the question of why bother is because that people are being impacted in different scales when you look at
Mhm.
the impact of climate change. So
Yeah.
we need to dive in and think of our community instead of thinking of ourselves. So
Yep.
answering the question of why bother is great. And we're going to take a unique approach. So we're going to spotlight urban farming education, and we're going to spotlight obviously Greenlight Solutions. Have the opportunity to share our stories, but we're also going to also share the stories of our partners. What excites you the most as far as that when you think about sharing the stories of your partners and having them answer the question of why bother?
Well, Greenlight, we're a platform to empower others, to empower students, to empower businesses, to help them be the change. Because as you mentioned, why bother? Business can be a force for good.
Oh, absolutely.
We hear all the time how, business is also a lot of the reason why we're having these environmental issues, but also let's turn the script. It can be a force for good. Um, so, like I said, we are a platform to bring others up. And that's why we're really passionate about sharing the stories of our partners and through the projects that they do. And same with the incredible students that come out of our program. Um, Gosh, they've gone on to do some really incredible things.
And for me, I'm gonna kind of ask the question and answer it. The question really for doing this project, because besides you and I, we're going to work with Maria, our talented marketing and videographer. She's great. She's going to help us with this. We have a partner in Kentucky. It's going to possibly help us promote this. But why are we doing this? Why are we getting engaged in this project? Honestly, I really want to empower everybody out there to realize that they could be part of the solution. It's okay to ask for help, but I want to motivate everybody to be engaged and be part of the solution. And what I'd say to anybody that's out there now watching this is you don't know what your role could be. I've heard it several times. Well, I'm a baker, I'm a mechanic, I'm this, I'm that. Well, you could start internally, but there's lots of ways that you can get engaged and involved. So really, it's more of a motivator for the community as a whole to take this and run with it and change the way they do things. So now the big question to you is, what do you hope to get out of this, creating a documentary?
Yeah, so I think it's the more that we share our stories, the more that others can learn from these stories, right? It's the not only sharing the accomplishments, people love that, but it's also sharing the lessons learned and saying, hey, we tried this, it didn't work, and being able to share that with others. Because that's another way to just help others and help businesses in general, help them on their sustainability journey.
Great answer. I wanted just to leave everybody with one final message. When I'm partnering with Greenlight Solutions, there's a lot of added value. Not only do we get a project completed for us, but I get connected with students from a different part of the world. I get to see the challenge I have through a different lens. So I would say that that's a big added value, and I get connected with a bigger a network or partnerships than we had before. Talking to your partners out there, what do you say that the biggest added value is for businesses that partner with you?
Yeah, I think it's our curriculum and our resource base. And, it's our proven track record of over 12 years of doing these projects and evolving over time and always improving on the processes and the systems and the outputs of our projects. And, an added value for us to be working with UFE is your global reach. And the fact that we do share those core values of going beyond advocacy and into action. And, you've been an incredible partner and your energy of just getting these projects off the ground. We're just getting started. So very excited.
Yeah, it's exciting to see these things come to fruition and making connections with different people around the world. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure that you're paying attention and looking for our production shorts with our interns from ASU and from Levine. So we really appreciate you watching those as well. And if you're in Mexico, make sure to watch our translated podcast clips as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.